Hi guys, it's Glitter. I'm here with another video. My roommate Selena is helping me out and recording me. Hi Celine, behind the camera. Our house looks kind of bare bones right now. We're moving out, so yeah, I'm just kind of like in front of a blank wall, so pardon the lack of decor in here. But today I want to talk about literature. I know that's like a super broad topic. I feel like now so much of us are spending so much time in our homes and alone, and I feel like people talk a lot about like finding the time to read. And so I'm kind of going to use this video to just hopefully introduce some fun new books that you guys can read, but also to I want to talk about the idea that of literature being like a community, and that a lot of books are in conversation with one another, and it's fun to kind of see like patterns and motifs through, I don't know, just a lot of different literature that you read. So I'm gonna use this video today to talk a little bit about literature. I know that's such like a huge, broad topic. And I also know that there's a lot of like misconceptions that it's kind of like stuffy or like an isolating topic. But I wanna use this video and hopefully more to come to basically like just talk about how literature is always like in conversation with other aspects of art in our life, and talk about how there's like really a community within literature, and how I don't know, really good writing can make you feel like you're reading something that you've always wanted to say, and like that's kind of the power of literature and why I love it so much. So to give a little bit of structure to obviously such a huge topic, I'm gonna try to pick like a motif or like one kind of symbol per video, and then I'm gonna talk about like a couple examples of a couple of works of writing that I really love, and like different ways that they use that motif or symbol. So I'm gonna start, shameless plug I know, with a poem that I wrote a little more than a year ago that just got published over the summer in a literary magazine that's online that's called Underblong. It's super cool. If you guys like poetry at all, you should definitely check it out. But in that poem, it ends with a line. I'll just read it to you. Jump in the pool, and then I promise I won't make you do it again. Me stretching out my arms like it's art waiting. So the idea of like, I don't know, my catchphrase, so to speak, is you only have to jump in the pool once. So this idea of like water, I feel like as being like a cleansing thing, or like a purifying thing, is like pretty common and classical. And I feel like the idea of like jumping into a pool, like having like fear that surrounds that action, is really emotive. And yeah, I don't know, just like the imagery of like taking a leap into like a new part of life or a new adventure. And then I wrote that poem, and then this year in January I read a book by David Shields. He's a really awesome writer. He wrote a book called How Literature Saved My Life, and he has a line about a pool, and that line reads, "When I'm poolside in my flip-flops, I'm comfortable. When I'm in the pool, I'm relatively comfortable. When I'm transitioning from the pool side to the pool, I'm uncomfortable, but I definitely know I'm alive." And I remember reading that line, and again, like I said, I feel like great writing is something that feels like something you've always wanted to say or always known. It feels very familiar to you. And I remember reading that line and feeling like, I don't know, like in some weird way I had like stolen it when I'd written my poem, but of course that wasn't possible because I hadn't even read it until like a year and a half after I wrote that poem. But I don't know, that was a really magical moment for me. And actually reading a lot of David Shields, that introduced me to another writer named Renata Adler. She wrote a really famous book called Speedboat, I think in like sometime in the 70s maybe, but it's like a really popular postmodern work of American literature. And she has a line, and this is actually how her book ends. Like this is in the final paragraph of her book, and she has a line that says, "You can't miss it," in quotes, "you can't miss it, always means you're never going to find it. The shortest distance between 2 points may well be the wrong way on a one-way street. All the same, I think there's something to be said for assuring the next that the water's fine. Quite warm, actually, once you get into it." you can't miss it. Okay, so then that line, again, like just the idea of like assuring someone that the water's fine, like bringing back the idea of jumping into a pool or getting into a body of water, and like how, I don't know, the duality of that imagery, which is something that's like, again, purifying and cathartic of getting into water, but the transition being really painful, I think is something really cool. So I hope that this was cohesive in some way, again, starting with my poem, and like my own kind of like catchphrase and philosophy, you only have to jump in the pool once, and then kind of seeing my own feelings and my own words and other writers' work. So I talked about David Shields, his book, How Literature Saved My Life, and then I talked about Speedboat by Renata Adler. But I hope this video did something. I know it's such a small drop in the ocean of everything there is to read and to talk about reading and writing, but I guess what I'm saying is that the more you read, the more you realize that all of literature is constantly in conversation with each other, and it can feel like this really solitary and lonely pursuit, but literature for me is what makes me feel most connected to the world and the people around me. So I hope you guys liked the video. Hope that made some sense, or at least gave you some recommendations for things to read. But thank you so much, and I'll see you guys the next time I make a video.